I love interviews, man. I think it's cool because I think Chicano Batman could be a band that's misunderstood, you know, and and I think like it's important to shed light on like that we're kind of we're creating this movement, you know, young fans at our shows. You know, it's like the old fans they taper off, and we always get a regeneration of new fans. So that's very inspiring, especially when you go to a new city and you keep seeing younger faces, and it's just like what is it that we're doing that makes people come back or makes younger people show up, and it's just like oof, that's something to not take for granted, and as a band and a brand, it's something to capitalize off of. So yesterday I was talking to a bunch of fans and asked, what does Chicano Batman mean to you guys? You know, and they said, you know, it feels like home. You know, it feels like home to us when we listen to your music. And I say, wow, well, that's great, because you could be a band that has a great collection of songs, but if you have a band that makes you feel like home, then that's something else. You know, so they like today, the bus shows up maybe in the morning. You know, get your coffee. You know, scout out your breakfast spot. Meander in the city if you want. You know, sound check is at 4. Go to sound check 4 to 5. You know, at 6 o'clock we have a VIP. So we've been doing these VIPs in different cities where we have an opportunity to offer fans, select few fans, like signed stuff, and then we have a Q&A for like 30 minutes. Ask us anything you want, and it's giving access to the fans, and then we also get to ask them questions. So it's a very sincere, very honest, very chill, and then after that, you know, an hour later, we're hitting the stage, and we're playing for an hour and a half, hour 40 minutes.
I'm going to outsource one of my questions, but in terms of like those fan questions you get, anything really surprising? Anything really caught you off guard?
Man, there are so many things that they say. You know, there's some things like, some people are like, I like that you sing in English and Spanish, because I talk in English and Spanish too. And it's so simple and so subtle, but to somebody, it means the world to them, you know? And I was like, oh yeah, that's true. There are not a lot of bands that sing in English and Spanish, but because we talk in English and Spanish too, it's just very natural for us to put a song in however it is that we want to put it out, because that feels natural to us. People talk about the beat. We love the beat, you know, all the sounds, you know. So for non-musicians to tell us what this is, we love the sound.
As those birds are doing whatever those birds are doing around you.
Yeah, they're black and they have orange flaps. I mean, Denver.
It's beautiful. I've always been curious as somebody who, you know, switches back between language. Is there a major difference between singing in English versus Spanish?
Most definitely, 100%. Yeah. One is like your aunt's going to understand it, and the other one, she ain't. You know, Spanish is our love language. You know, we grew up speaking Spanish to our family. That's our first language. So when I'm speaking in Spanish, it's a love language. You know, so when we're, like me, for instance, I sing a song called La Jura, and La Jura is a song about cops killing one of my neighbors growing up. I shot him in the back, left him on the floor in front of his mom's house. Mom could not come near him, you know, 4 hours on the floor in front of his house. And it's just a bad circumstance. So I think during the Black Lives Matter movement, when it was really growing, I was like, man, we need to do a song that brings like black and brown unity together, you know. And it's an overshot. I'm like, I'm gonna do that song, you know. So then now we sing this song, and to me, it's so important that the elders also understand what the young generations are talking about. You know, because they have their songs from the past, you know, about love and about breakup and all this thing. But like our love songs now are about police brutality, you know. And for someone to listen to that, like what are you listening to? Is it? Oh, okay, huh? To provoke thinking, you know, in our love language, talking to everybody that like you don't ever get your message across to. I think that's important. So for me, that's what that does.
I mean, that's quite a sentence. What our love songs are about police brutality. So what, aside from the fact that they're in Spanish, what makes that a love song?
The ballad. It's a ballad. It's a beautiful ballad, you know? And it's just like, you know, if I wasn't talking about police brutality, I could be talking about my broken heart, or I could be talking about, you know, my longing for you. I could be, you wouldn't even, it would fit so perfectly. But when you get the same genre and you put a different kind of story on there, I mean, it's provocative. To me, it's evolutionary. And I think it's using the format that we're used to, but using it for a different purpose. And I think that's what we try to do with Chicano. And Bardo's a whole different songwriter himself. So everybody comes with a different, and he writes songs in English and Spanish. And it's like that. If you have a song and you have a certain chord progression, you start singing, you're like, oh, I sound like Roberto Carlos, I sound like Leodan, I sound like, and it's just because it's in our blood. It's just so natural. It comes out so natural. Like, oh, this song sounds like Los Solitarios or whatever band that it is that we listened to growing up. And then we're just like, dude, I'm going to write a song of this thing. It hits already. I already know the format. I already know the chord progression. I know what it does. I know that here's the part where it goes, da, for a long time because it's already been written for us, And it's like everything's been written for us already in music. You just go choose the elements that work for you for the song and the story you're trying to tell.
Yeah, this is something I always think about a lot as a non-musician myself, is that, in some senses, there's almost this like finite number of things that you're drawing upon. And to me, that would almost seem restrictive, or it would seem difficult to do something that feels new within these, very like well-worn formats.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's honestly like our kryptonite. It's like we're constantly trying to be like, yep, you thought you knew us, huh? You actually don't know it, and it's like it's actually honestly liberating because then we fight our whole lives trying to get out of the boxes that they put us in, as Latino or as a Latino band, like in the beginning, it was really hard to shake off the whole, oh, you guys are a good band. It's a good band for being for Latinos. It's like, you guys are a good Latino band, and we're like, nobody asked us to, why are you saying that?
People would say like, just like that, nakedly racist to you.
Yeah, but they say it out of love, but love and racism don't mix. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like people don't actually know what they're saying. They don't know what they're saying. It's just accustomed to a certain way of, they're socialized. For instance, on Invisible People, it's an English-only album. There's no Spanish songs. And we go to interviews and like, we love your album. What does it feel like to sing songs in English and Spanish? And then I'll be like, I don't know. This is an English-only album. So you either didn't listen to it, or just because you're looking at us, you're assuming that we sing in Spanish. So this perception, we have to fight perception all the time. So when you see us play and we're playing like an R&B joint that sounds more like Janet Jackson, you're just like, what is this? Like, I thought this was a Latino band. Like, it's just like, we just happen to be Latino, man. That's just it, man. I play basketball. You know what I'm saying? I go camping. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like lattes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just brown. I'm just proud and brown, but like, I like all that shit too, man. You know what I'm saying? And I excel at what I do. Just like you might. I put in the work. I got gifts. I got gifts that I want to show the world. And so does the rest of my band. And that's why we're doing this. It's not easy. It's not easy. We put like master's degrees and careers on hold. Not hold. We chucked them away. They're done now. All that years from 4 years old to like 22 years old, 27 years old studying, and we ended up doing music. So it's like, it's a bigger calling. So it's like, it has nothing to, like, racism, prejudice, all that shit. It can't do anything to us because we're still gonna go. We got the drive, man. We got the drive more than anybody I know. Like your friends around you, those guys that like, or those women that like, they really are psycho about their craft. And you're like, mad respect, man. Mad. You woke up at 5 to do that? Dang. Okay. Like we're psycho too, and it's like, it's the passion, and not everybody can connect. And I think for us, No Big Fantasy, this album, it's just for us, it's a display about, man, you should connect. Go connect to what it is that you think you got to do, because if you think you got to do it, you're closer to actually doing it, But you can psych yourself out and never do it because the social norms are like, dude, why are you going to start doing that? It's not even going to pay you. Everything's always comes out to money and its place in society and what people are going to think of you and all that. But then, then you silence a little voice inside of you that's been silenced since you were in elementary school. The little weirdo voice. Everyone's got a little weirdo voice, but we love to smash it. We like to smash the poetry out of each other. Man, you got to buy a car, you got to get a lease, you got to pay rent, you got to get insurance, you got all this societal stuff. That's the nuts and bolts of like what makes what makes capitalism, go round and round. It's like that's our culture, and people don't. It's really hard once you caught up in that and social media. Then it's over, man. Like, you know, like capitalism is the roots of our new generation.
I wholeheartedly agree with you, but also, I assume that like growing up where you grew up, that you saw a lot of people struggle with that. So and there is, it's important still at the same time to be pragmatic about these sorts of things. Like you do at a very base level, like you do need to survive.
Growing up, I didn't see anybody struggle, because we're all on the same. You go to the pool, everyone's going to the pool, having a good time, the public pool, lives in the projects, it's just like, we're all in the projects. Let's go play. The sun's out. Let's go outside and play, Oh yeah, there's a gunshot. Let's go back inside. Everybody's got to go back inside, It's like, people are on welfare, like, so are we. Like, everyone's paying food stamps. I mean, it's just everyone's speaking Spanish, I didn't see no suffering, and it's not until I go to college and I'm like one of 8%, of Latino in the whole university and a predominantly Latino neighborhood in South Central. Then you start questioning the big questions, and then when your opinion in class, about something that you finally have the guts to say, your conscientious mind is being developed in college, with all these themes and theories and ideas, and you have the guts to say it out in your classroom and your own teachers like belittling you, you're just like, okay, motherfuckers. All right. Then I got to be good at what I'm good at. So you can't knock me down, So all that kind of thing is just like, man, I just got to be confident. I got to be sharp at what I'm already sharp at. Music, I was like, you can never touch me at music. Like, maybe you make $250,000 a year. Maybe you drive this. Maybe you have a nice car. But dude, when I play guitar, I'm tapped into my soul. I don't see you doing that shit. So you can never take that away from me. So those are the types of things that you keep to yourself. And as you go older, then we're battling in this Anglo rock system, of festivals and touring and all that kind of thing, and you're never getting a bone. What we did one time, man? We consciously rebranded our band instead of like because the public would be like, you guys are a Latin psychedelic soul band, okay, whatever, it's fine. But then we're like, dude, we told our booker and manager, like, look, we're not gonna call ourselves a Latin psychedelic soul band anymore. We're gonna call ourselves a rock band. And as soon as we did that, within months, man, we're getting offers to play festivals, open up with Jack White. We're getting like the big ticket stuff, just in the rebrand, And then we've been able to do good. I mean, because we're an electric live band. Like, seeing us live is a whole different experience. The album is I love all our albums; they're amazing. But seeing us live, we take it to the next level, and that's what you want to see, and that's what you want to do, live in the moment and fly with your material. So yeah, it's like, our band is we got a Samoan cat, we got a black dude, we got like 3 Latinos. I mean, we're a POC band. But close your eyes, and we're just aliens, man. You know what I'm saying? It's just colorblind. This thing is colorblind, man. It's a lot of soul, and I think for us, that's how we fight this prejudice, racism shit. Just put that soul out there. You put that soul out there, it's unequivocal. You can't tell me that my soul is not, comforting, and I think that's, it's like love, man. Like, people, one time somebody asked me, like, what's so psychedelic about Chicano Batman now? Like psychedelic, and I was like, in the beginning it was like the delays effects, like the tones, the reverb, that was psychedelic. But having done this 16 years and have kids now, getting married. Growing, there's a Gen Z that's like dominating now. Before, in 2008 when we started, that was not the thing. We were the young ones, I'm gonna be 42 next month. So it's like I was thinking about it. I was like, what the psychedelic is now? It's love. It's love, because psychedelics, they put you in this euphoric place. I mean, if you ever done psychedelics, when you're on shrooms, it's just like, man, deep thought. Everything's lucid. It's not like acid. I've never done acid, but it's not that like visual thing. It's like internal. And it's just like, it really transforms like the way you feel and you perceive. And then once you get off of it, you're kind of on it forever. Your perspective has kind of been changed forever, And I think Chicano Batman, our psychedelic like thing is love, man. Because there's a lot of love in the music, a lot of love in the stories, and a lot of love in the fan base. So all I feel is love when I play. That's all I feel. And that, you can't break that real easily, So Our band is protected.
I got the sense when you were discussing, being in school that that maybe part of what drove you is that you felt like you had to do better and you had to be better than other people. That you had to prove it. That you had to prove that you were capable of all these things.
Absolutely. It's a drive, man. Otherwise, you're just a tool, man. You're just working for one of them. Did good enough. And there's a huge thing between the big difference between being good and being great. And I didn't want to be good. Good is just going to get you in an office, man. You graduated. That's great. I remember when I graduated college, I was like, man, is this it? I was like, this can't be it, man. Like, I'm supposed to get a master's now or find a job? I'm just 21. I'm 21. Like I've been thinking about this moment since I've been 5 years old, and now it's here, and I'm like, what am I going to do? So I went to go study abroad in Brazil. I didn't know the language. I didn't know the culture. I didn't know nothing. I was like, I want to put myself in a situation where I don't know anything about. I want to experience something for the first time like I never experienced before. Beach town, Salvador de Bahia, by the beach. I went there for 8 months, and it changed my whole perspective, my whole life, And then that's when I came back to the States and was like, man, everyone's just fighting, man. Everyone's just fighting for position and hierarchy, and again, like in LA, it's like label identity is huge. One thing that, a lot of people don't understand is yeah, we're Latino, but in LA, in the United States, we're not American, I'm saying? You got to be white to be American, right? So then we go to Mexico. In Mexico, we're not Mexican. We're from el norte. We're from the United States. So we're pochos. We're something else but Mexican. So when we're not American and we're not Mexican, then what are we? We're Chicano Batman. We're filling the gaps. And then filling the gaps, it's not about it's just about finding confidence in yourself. And going to do what it is that you're meant to do with your life.
I've heard you and I've heard everybody in the band talk about this quite a bit. And I think this kind of gets back to your initial point about the movement that you're describing and the younger fans is, in part, this kind of representation that they're not seeing somewhere else. But how does that play out with Mexican fans in Mexico? How do they relate to that?
Maniacs. See, certain things the laws don't apply over there. These over there, it's just, it's our music. And then we have someone from LA. You know what they love? They love being talked to in English too. Because they're like, we know English. They want to connect with us too. We're over here talking in Spanish. But when we're talking Spanish, they just melt. Because, the Killers don't do that. Jack White won't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like all these bands, when you say hola mi gente, just what's up my people? There's a direct connect. We're here, we're home. I mean, bro, when my grandpa lives 12 hours away from where I'm playing, yet he will never be able to come see me because he's a farmer. You know what I'm saying? He has land to tend to, poor. I'd have to literally go buy his thing and, set him up, buy him clothes to come to the city. It's that's what Mexico means. I got a lot of poor family, in a small pueblo in Mexico. Yet we got these Chicano Batman, this big band going to play at the city from the origin of where my family left to go make a better life for themselves. It's really complicated, super complicated, but the fans are young and they're also hungry and they're now open to new things, man. I mean, in Mexico, yeah, for the fans, all we have is maniac love and support. They love our songs. They can identify too. With La Jura. I mean, the cop situation is way worse in Mexico than it is in the United States. So they've told me, dude, the Jura, it hits home. Disappearances, the cartels, politics, and corruption. They're like, this song belongs in Mexico. And I'm like, that's awesome. Songs of longing or love, relationships. Anyone can relate to that. And they're in Spanish. So you make it accessible for a different population to link into and to fall in love with.
How do you talk to your grandfather about what you do? In a lot of ways, it's like you're inhabiting an entirely different world, it sounds like.
One time, when the first time we played in Mexico, we actually did bring my grandpa out. We had it stayed at the Four Seasons and that whole thing and just, lived it up. And you know what? They brought 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes of mangos. And, they were, 2 big old boxes and another box of something called zapote from their tree. They took it through the bus, 14 hours, man, in the taxi to the hotel. Showed up to the hotel with boxes of fruit, man. You know, and anybody that has a Latino or Mexican family, you know, they know what that means. Like, I go to my aunt's house in Boyle Heights. I grew up in Boyle Heights in LA, and they're poor. But they went to the church on Sunday and they got a bunch of free fruit and vegetables that they were giving away. And then they called me like, "Hey, come over here and get your boxes." So I go and they give me my boxes. They don't got money, but they're redistributing the wealth that they do have. You know, either they'll cook for us, they give us free stuff, that kind of thing. And you know, that's the experience. You know, and so my grandpa, you know, when I talked to him about, he's like, I remember when you played and we played in Guadalajara in Mexico, and he also took a flight for the first time. Took a flight from Mexico to Guadalajara. He's already like 86, taking a flight for the first time. You know, short flight. But then he's just like, I remember the time when you took me to see the world. That's what he told me. And the world is just, you know, a couple cities in his own country, but it's the world. And he started laughing, you know. And I thought that was just the greatest anecdote. Like, when I took my grandpa to see the world with Chicano Batman, and he just 2 cities in his own country, you know, that are very popular cities. And I thought that was like, I opened up the world inside him. You know, he stood up. He was crying. He was like literally standing. We're like, everybody stand up. He'd be the first person to stand. And I'm like, dude, my grandpa's a very shy man, very quiet, timid man. But the fact that he's up clapping and he's like tearing as he's watching his grandson play, you know, you don't ever expect that any of your family's going to be, quote, a rock star, you know. But now, like, you know, and there, I mean, it's a screaming house of like 1,000 fans, you know. First time in Mexico. We're like, even us, it's emotional. We're like, man, you guys really do love us. I had no idea, you know? So a lot of surprises come out of that, especially for my grandpa. You know, I opened up his world, and I can die, and he could probably die, like, in a certain kind of comfort zone, knowing that, you know, we had that kind of satisfaction.
Your father was a school teacher, correct?
Yeah.
When you had this conversation with him, and when, you know, you had gone through the process of, I think you're studying urban planning, and then you decided, actually, no, like, music, this is the thing that I want to do. Was he, how supportive was he?
Oh, he's mad.
He was mad.
Yeah, my dad's like a Vietnam vet from East LA. And he came back on a GI Bill, and he went to UCLA, studied philosophy. Became a second grade teacher in Maywood, California for like 25 years or whatever. And he's a brick and mortar guy, very traditional, baby boomer. It had always been about, and machista, you know? So it's with my dad, it's always been about, you gotta do the thing, you know? The graduate from this, the jobs with that, this, very traditional. You know, so I grew up traditional too, you know, because you don't want to disappoint your parents. At a certain level, you don't want to disappoint your parents, you know. And it's just like, some people shake it off early, some people never shake it off, you know. But like, you know, having the acceptance of your parents is kind of a big deal, man. You know, it's a big deal to a lot of people, especially when you don't have confidence, or like you don't really have a direction. You want to feel love from somewhere, man. You don't want to ever feel alone, because you know, a lot of resentment, a lot of rage, a lot of frustration. You feel alone. It's kind of, things become quite impossible. So when I told my dad, I was just like, it was just words for me, because I'm like, I'm decided. Like, I was actually proud. I was like, man, I'm so happy that my dad's not going to convince me to go back to my job, because like, I already gave him my it was like a 2-month notice. You know, I was like, I already gave my notice. Like, I'm out. So my dad had to accept. You know, he had to accept, and that's where I give props. You know, like, as parents got to evolve too, man. You know, it's like, you don't always know what's best for your kids at some point. At some point, everyone's adults and everyone makes decisions for themselves. And so, me being a parent, I have to, you know, 4-year-old kid, like, you know, he's going to morph, and he's going to change to do things that I probably don't like. And it's going to be cool, man. It's going to be cool how I see myself react, and how I see myself not be my own father, you know? And that's the cool thing. It's just like, the cool thing about being a parent is just, you get a chance not to be like your own parents, you know? But it's a very conscious thing, because in the DNA, it's already there. Your reaction, you know, your, like, the way, your perception. It's just like, no, I'm not my dad, man. I'm not my dad. I'm not my dad or my mom. I see things very differently, you know? So yeah, it's very hard to go up against the system. All of our families, you know, like, we had all this education, you know, and debt, you know, and we're just like, man, we're not going to worry about that, man. We got one life. And right now it's like, music is time-based, very time-sensitive. You know, your emotion, your stories are very time-sensitive. You put them out right now, it makes sense. You put them out in 3 years, it may not make as much sense. you don't feel it in 3 years. So you got to put it out when you can. And there's a business to support the release of music and stuff like that, which is getting super dicey, very expensive. Not every band can tour. You come back with a deficit. Even big bands can't tour. I mean, I know like the Black Keys canceled the tour because they just weren't selling. I'm like, the Black Keys are canceling tours? Damn, that's scary, man. That's like a big band. So it's a weird state. And that's where like, yeah, the parent part, that voice, it's like the cost of goods are going up, everything's going up, but the ticket sale price, Ticketmaster's taking a shitload of money from our tickets. So, the venues are taking 25% of our soft goods, 10% of our hard goods, so, management companies, bookers, business managers taking a cut, Uncle Sam's taking a big cut, so literally the business model at some point, it doesn't make any sense anymore, but here you are releasing another record and putting it into this model, so, you do have existential crisis and moments of like, man, what are we really doing here? The business of music is dicey, man. All we want to do is create music, man, and play. And I think every artist that grows into the business of it struggles at some point with making adjustments, not playing so much or having to play more or getting back on the road or saying no to things so you can say yes to the bigger prizes. There's all those different things. Timing, relevance, some stuff that's out of your control. Going viral is a new one. That's annoying. Like, that's super annoying, man.
I have to imagine that the pandemic brought all of this stuff to the front too. I mean, it was an incredibly difficult time to be a musician.
Yeah, absolutely. And we had a tour scheduled and an album release for May of 2020. And then we were all in lockdown. We said, you know what, man? Everything's on the slingshot. Let's just let it go, man. Like, we worked so hard about a year and a half to get this. For like, it just crushed through this pandemic, man. And I think we're the band that I feel that did most Zooms, most band performance. We did like Colbert Show, and we did all these other things like through Zoom. At first, I mean, it was super tiring. I had a baby, I had an infant at the same time. So did Barlow. We had infants. 2 weeks, and we're like doing interviews for like 2 hours. Baby's crying in the back, that whole thing, and so it was very exhausting. And then we had to cancel our tour till about a year and a half later. And then different masks at the shows. All that stuff was really weird, but it did bridge a huge gap in technology, like us having an interview right now. We weren't doing this before the pandemic at all. Now it's kind of a social norm. In fact, now it's almost like, bro, are you in LA? Because if so, we could meet at a cafe, man. Like, let's meet in person, man. Like, this whole, a Zoom thing, it took a toll on all of us. After a while, we're like, dude, no more Zoom interviews, man. It's like soul sucking, man. It's just like we're doing a stack every day, and it's just like the screen and the whole thing. And, those tape performances, it's like 20 minutes, but you're really spending 3.5 hours, to set it all up, align it, do that whole thing, the split screen, all that. Very, very laborious. But the pandemic changed a lot of things. It also knocked out a lot of small bands, that were on the up, and venues, knocked out some venues. And it probably restructured, like, these big players at top, the Golden Voice and the Live Nations, the Monopoly probably got stronger because those who had the money survived, and those who didn't, they got bought out. So now we're living in that system, post-pandemic system of the business, and it's daunting, but I believe that it's just like, if you just put your head down and you stick to the music, man, you'll be fine.
One positive that I can immediately see for you and Bardo at the same time is, like, it's tough to be a parent and to be a touring musician, and there's a lot that you miss, but you were able to have those moments with your child because you had to be home.
100%. And there's two sides to that, because my wife had terrible postpartum depression, right? Insomnia and the whole thing. So, and then we didn't have support. Even though we're in LA and our family's in LA, you don't have support, because don't touch my baby because he might die. He might get COVID. There's a lot of misinformation, a lot of fear. And so, especially when my son was born in April 14th of 2020, so I was like 1 month after lockdown. And we had a home birth, which luckily that saved us from having to go to the hospital and me having to wait in the lobby while my wife is getting a C-section or some crazy shit, So, there was a lot more C-sections being done because people want to get out. So, we skipped all that. But at the same time, it was very lonely and very tiring. And then, the grandma was not around, it was very lonely. However, I didn't go on tour. I was supposed to go on tour that April. when he was just like 3 weeks old. I didn't go on tour. I actually stayed home for like a solid year and a half, like paternal leave, you know? And now my bond to my kid is as strong as ever, you know? And I can't believe that I'm a touring musician with a bond so strong to my kid. Even when I go, I tell my kid ahead of time, and he understands where I'm going. I do FaceTime with him from venues, green rooms, the bus. What song you play today, Daddy? He's like, is Bardo going to take off his shirt? You know, he just knows the culture of it, you know? He knows the culture of everything I do. And that's my dream too, because I always thought that I always live two lives, when I go on tour, when I come home. But now I can't. It has to be one life. And the more you have to drop that barrier every fucking day, because it's like that barrier can get higher and higher. And then you're far from home, man, for a long time, you know? So, and there's so much cool shit happening. The fans, the crew, the music, you know? And it's just like, oh, my kid's sick. He has a fever. Damn. Okay. Well, what can you do? Nothing. Oh my God. Oh, my wife. No one's gonna pick him up. How could you have to take your day off? Ooh. You know, you got to stay in tune, man. You got to stay in tune and be empathetic with what's going on at home. It's like they have a schedule. Follow their schedule too. Like if you're on the East Coast, it's like, you know, 8 a.m. for you. It's 5 a.m. at home. You literally have two schedules, man. You know, and it's a conscious effort that I personally wanted to make. Like, man, I want to have one life, man. I want to have one life. You know, I've been sober for about 7 years from drinking alcohol. That's helped a lot in clarity. And this doesn't distort anything. You don't get missed calls. You call people back. You're there for your compromises. There's a lot of things that sobriety does that you don't understand. You ask big questions. You ask what more you can do. You know, you put yourself in uncomfortable situations so that you can be comfortable later. So a lot of that has helped. And you know, I told the guys, man, I have a kid, and when I come home from tour, I want to bring positivity. So you guys, can we just like have the most fun we possibly could have on tour? You guys want to do that? It was a conscious decision. Like, yeah, dude, let's just have fun, man. All right, then let's settle all our beefs before we get to the bus, man, or the van. Like, let's just be upfront. Let's not be passive aggressive. And we've literally had exercises of this, not being passive aggressive, telling directly who you want to talk to about your issues. You know, don't blow up. You know, it's your fault if you blew up. You had a chance many days before to say something. So these tools of communication have been really useful for us so that we can have an amazing time out here and go home with grace. You know, go home with grace and poise and energy, you know, to share with our family. This thing out here is real life. It's not this thing is tired. Oh, I'm so glad to be home. All these things like, no, I had a great time. And now I have this great time with you. I have this energy that I brought home with you, you know. So the whole pandemic and all that made music positive, because otherwise I would have been gone. And it's like, oh, he's gone again, you know, for a month, you know, and I'm over here having to do all this by myself, all that resentment. I'm glad that the pandemic gave me a break to not have that resentment about music and what it is to be a touring musician.
This ability to really kind of be proactive about that, about your relationships and about dealing with those issues up front, that's a direct result of the past 4 years.
Absolutely. 100%. Yeah. Because there's this thing in our band, like when we don't talk to each other, we start hating each other. We start inventing fights. Oh, Alpha doesn't want to talk to me. He's probably doing his own thing. He thinks he's better than me.
Competition, right? Yeah.
We are so highly competitive, man. You know, and I mean, we've been in it for 16 years, so we find how to make it work. You know, and so yeah, when someone's, you know, writing 5 songs or 7 songs, you're like, damn, I haven't written a song. I better get mine. Let me hear your songs. Nah, they're not ready yet. I was like, damn, this guy's not going to show me for like 6 more months. You know, and I'm like, man, that means all his songs going to be on the next record. I better start writing, you know, and all these types of things. And then, you know, it ends up being this communal thing when we actually get together, and then it diffuses everything. So in the pandemic, we weren't talking, we had kids, and I hadn't talked to somebody for like a month or 2 months. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, man, you talk about the old trauma that you have never touched. It comes to the forefront, and you start getting mad. And then I remember being mad at Bardo, and just like one day I called him. I'm like, hey, bro, we haven't talked in a long time, and like, I'm starting to get mad at you, dude. And like, I have this resentment. I was like, but you know what, bro? You haven't done anything to me. I was like, he's like, me too. I feel the same way. And I'm like, oh my God, dude, really? I was like, we really have zero business getting mad at each other right now. We're busy, have kids, it's a pandemic. And then I remember saying like, dude, you want to be friends, dude? You know, he's like, yeah. I was like, yeah, let's be friends, man. Like, we don't have any beefs, bro. Like, why are we creating beefs? We don't have beefs. And we're like, yeah, man, I don't want to do that either. I was like, dude, let's not do that no more, man. If we could be friends, bro. Let's check in. Let's be friends. So, you know, you're a business partner. You've been together. You're literally brothers. And not our brothers are friends. You know what I'm saying? like you're like chosen ones to be together. That's how we feel with Chicano Batman. We're so randomly three different people. It's like I say, one's a basketball court, one's a melon, and the other one's a boat. You know what I'm saying? It's just like we just make it work, man. You know, and it works good. There's a lot of tension and release in our band as dynamic as people that translates to the music. You know, and it's just like it's amazing, man. It's just like the synergy is amazing. So we always have that, and we're constantly like, if someone has an issue, man, you know, just go address it. So, and it's based off these conversations from the pandemic. You know, and I'm the one that I champion a lot of that. I like tackling in the room, man. I like asking the hard questions. You know, just because it's just an opportunity for us to grow. You know, or to talk about something that nobody wants to talk about. You know, I love all that discomfort, man. I thrive on that.
I think there's an element to it's a kind of a cliche to say, but like of like toxic masculinity, right? And of like hiding your feelings and not being upfront about it. And it's great that you were really able to push through it, because it's not addressing those things. Like that's what leads to problems. And I assume that's what breaks up a lot of bands.
Yeah. A lot of ego, a lot of pride. You know, I want my shake too. You're getting all the spotlight. You know, one thing that bands, it's like, and if I can give some advice to people that are listening, that are in bands and have issues, it's like, you got to know your role. You got to know your role. I'm a basketball fan. You know what I'm saying? There's guys that are centers and throw them the ball, man. Throw them the ball. They're 7'1". They got a guy that's 6'3" on them. They're going to make it. And if he keeps making them, keep throwing it back at him. And defend. Somebody else has the ball, you got to defend. You know, if you're not the lead singer, then you're really not going to be the star of the thing. So you could be a star though. You know, you could be the best sixth man, come off the bench. You know, there's no shame in that. You could be like, you know, a passer, sick passer. You know, you could be a sick passer. So all these things, you just don't always need the ball. You know, so it's one thing is like your front man, he's your star. Give him all the spotlight that he needs, you know, because 95% of everybody's watching them anyways, you know. So if you support that, then you all succeed, you know. Just know that you played good too, and you need to play good for him to feel good, to deliver that. So everybody has a role. Not everybody has the ball all the time, and you should be content with that. Because if you think bands are democracies, you're in for a good one. A band is not a democracy, man. And we're all over here like social justice fucks. Like we you know, we're all about politics, you know, fairness. I mean, we're conscious about all these different things, but bands are not democracies, man. You know, it's this creative entity where the voice lies. Who knows where the voice is? But whoever has the voice, you got to support that, because, you know, it's like going with the stream. It's like going with the flow. Because swimming upstream for fairness, it ends up being a process that you end up not liking. And when you don't end up liking a process, your fans are not going to end up liking your product. And that's just the business one.
I was reading an interview that you did around, I don't know if you would say like solo project or side project or how you would classify that, but they made an interesting comparison, which is, you know, like in the context of Chicano Batman, a lot of times you're kind of like maybe standing on the side, and in this project you're standing, you know, literally in the center, and that's a big shift in dynamic. Like your role really changes between those projects.
Yeah, most definitely, and I love them all. You know, it's like another thing, and it's advice for anybody that's like for me, you know, I'm a multifaceted musician, like artist. Like I dwell in cumbia quebradita. That's my bread and butter. You know, I love cumbia quebradita. That's in my blood. I have a band that I dedicate myself to that. I have a song called La Manzanita in Chicano Batman that I play, and it's a cumbia. And when it's time for me to go up there and take over the mic, I go to the center of the stage and I serenade everybody with a smile, with infectious groove. I shake my hips. I smile. I'm like, yo, we're here together, aren't we? You know, and everybody gets it, you know. And it's my moment to shine. In the past, there would be competition between Bardo and I, because it's my turn to shine now, you know. But because we're cool, 2020, we're like, all right, bro, do your thing. Go get him. And I have to go get him because, you know, it's like, again, back to basketball, you know, Pippen and Jordan, you know what I'm saying? Kobe, Shaq. There's never been a team where one guy dominates everything. Never. I mean, and if you do, you get to the conference final like LeBron and you end up losing, you know, like, or like even Allen Iverson, you know, you couldn't get past the you know, the Lakers, but he took them there. He basically took them all the way there. But it's like, when someone else has got to step up, and that's where I come in, and I'm confident. And then once he gave me that love and that trust, then I'll go over there, no holds bar. We're gonna bring this house down. And then I gave him the bass back, and he's giving me high five, like, dude, that shit was crazy. I was like, right, that was nuts. We did it. And then I go back to being a bass player and support my boy. Now he's a singer again, And it took a lot of years of maturity. It takes a lot of years of maturity, because at some point it's like you're doing something and they're like, oh, I want the spotlight, and they try to get it from you, but we've had the chance to evolve and reinvent ourselves as humans, and I think we all have the opportunity to reinvent ourselves. Some people take it, some people don't, and so that's what it is. And oh yeah, so as an artist that has multifaceted, like, if you can get all yours in one band, go start another band. Do something else, man. Go paint, man. Go do botany, man. Like, do something else to fulfill your soul, man. Because if you're trying to put all your eggs in one basket in this, quote, democracy of a band, you're going to be in for a lot of grief, man. And a lot of, you don't want to build resentment in something that's supposed to be harmony between people and frequency and love. And like, music is that. It's spirituality. So if you're coming in with like a bad formula into the spirituality sphere, you're going to suffer.
When you were talking about this discussion that the two of you were having, and you said, let's be friends, I initially took that as being almost like figurative, but it sounds like it was really just as simple as you saying something like that, and that just completely changed the dynamic between the two of you in a positive way.
Absolutely. It's just simple. And it's as simple as telling your friend, yo, bro, I love you, man. They'll be like, man, I love you too, man. And then, then you upgraded. Now you love each other officially. And that love is public. You said it out loud. It's very scary, especially for men, to throw that love word around, But we do love each other, man. So say it. And I think also with Bardo, it was like, yeah, we've been, quote, friends, but, business partners, and we've been on the road and all that kind of thing. And now we have a lot of downtime. And it's just like, also, too, can we be friends? It also kind of says, like, I've also messed up. There's a lot of accountability that you got to point the finger back at you before you point at others. Be like, what have you done? That's probably, it's like, well, you're also this guy that doesn't put up with this shit and that person needs the kind of person that needs to put up with that because that's who they are. Now, if you don't take the time to acknowledge that, then you are in the wrong, dude. You can't assume that, because someone was bit by a dog when they were 7, that now because they're 27, they shouldn't be scared of dogs anymore because they're an adult. Trauma works in their own ways, social conditioning, family upbringing, all of that makes us unique people that have special needs. And as soon as you're able to identify that who needs what and respect those boundaries, then they'll respect yours. And that's what being friends is about. Respecting each other's boundaries that you set up for each other. It's just like, yo, this is really me, man. This is what I really need, dude. And if you can give it to me, man, I love you, bro. Thank you. So we just do that for each other.
Something that you're kind of getting at in an interesting way is something that I've been thinking a lot about. The way in which, like in therapy, they call it core beliefs, and in the way in which the last 4 years have challenged core beliefs, but also an important part of getting older and maturing and just living in the world is re-examining some of these beliefs that you've always taken for granted, including like whether or not two men can tell each other that they love one another.
Core beliefs. Yeah. Core beliefs. Some of the core beliefs past 2020 in bands is, I'll tell you, because I think about this and I work. This has been my homework to make Chicano Batman a happier place for me to live in. Because all of us in the band, man, we think about quitting every 2 months. I was talking about this with my guy yesterday, the keyboard player, Quincy. He says, man, every 3 months I just think about quitting music altogether. And I was like, wow, bro, I think about quitting the band every 3 months for the last 16 years. And it's like that. It's super like that, And then some profound moment will happen and it inspires you, or your family's like, dude, you guys, or someone's like, man, crying, like, your music helped save my life. I was in suicidal and I got your album and it made sense to me, and I have this job here, I have this, I have a kid, my kid's named after one of your songs, and you're just like, whew. I'm just like, whoa, what journey are we on right now? Like, we didn't ask for any of this. We were just playing songs, you know? So now you built this thing, you know? But some core values, man. So when you have this positive effect out in the world, you're just like, man, let me make a positive effect on myself too then. One is being responsible for the energy you bring to a space. You know? If there's tension, did you bring that tension? Maybe you brought it. So check your own energy before you start blaming other people for stuff. Number two, man, the only ego in the room should be the ego of the songs. You know, the song has big ego, man. It needs everyone's attention. You got to soldier up to the song to make the song live. So the only ego is out of the songs, you know? So check yours at the door, you know? The other one, like I was saying, is there's no democracy. There's only a voice, and an artistic voice. And if you can align yourself and agree with that voice, then you're going to go a lot further, you know? Another one, yeah, core value, know your role. You know, you're not going to get the spotlight. Your spotlight is not getting the spotlight. That's your spotlight. You know, if you don't get any attention on you, you'd be like, that's dope. You're doing your role and you're not doing anything. Like, you're grooving and then the show is going great and everybody in your band will respect you, you know, for playing good, you know? And then, yeah, like say thank you and say great job. You know, when it actually is something. We all need validation. You know, we all need validation, you know, whether for our songs, you know, I might write a song that the other guys don't like, you know, but it's like, if it's coming from my heart, you know, like, you know, at least acknowledge that. Like, hey, man, that I feel that song is coming from your heart. That's dope, man. I like that. I mean, I like the song, but I like your drive behind putting it together. And I respect it. I'm down with you. I believe in you. Let's go. What do you need me to do to help make your dream come true? You know, those types of things, man. You know, that's life, man. That's life. And we're figuring it out in a band setting, especially after having kids, you know. You want to raise your kids a certain way. So you don't want to be the same asshole. You know, you want to take some of those things away from your own formula. And it's challenging because now you have a kid and you don't want to impose that on them as well. So then you really have to do it in real life. You know, and it takes sometimes years to get rid of a quality that you have, you know, or an addiction, you know, or a habitual thing, or an automatic response on something, you know. And so it's just like, the light has to flicker, but you have to feed the light. It's an exercise. All these core values are exercises. If you stop doing them, they all disappear, and you're back to just square one. You know, and it hurts to get back on that movement of like trust and sincerity and like lightness. You know, sometimes it's hard to get back on there. It's too much pride to get in the way, and we're busy. You know, we're busy. Everyone's always busy. I don't have time for that. I'm busy. You know, I can't call him right now. I'm busy. I don't want to affect my night. I have to go to sleep. I have a big day tomorrow. I have a show. We're going to see him next week. I can't call him. I can't talk about these issues. There's always something. So if ever you want some change, you're going to always feel some discomfort. And that's a very comfortable place. Discomfort should be the new comfort.